In 1220, Samarkand, 100,000 souls fall to Mongol horse archers who slice ears from corpses to count their kills, leaving a city in ruins. In 1830s, Texas Comanche warriors stake captives to the ground, burning their limbs, scalping them alive, and laughing as screams echo across the plains. Bound by vast grasslands and thundering hooves, these bow-wielding terrors forged legends of fear. The Mongols carved a 13 million square kilometer empire, while the Comanches stalled Texas annexation for decades. Their worlds apart, yet eerily mirrored cultures ruled with unmatched brutality and speed. What forged these twin titans of the saddle into history's most dreaded warriors? Could any force, from Alexander Macedonians to Roman legionaries, have broken their reign? Stay tuned to uncover the truth. The Mongols and the Comanche, two legendary horse archer cultures, dominated their worlds with a lethal blend of bows, horses, and raw brutality. These warriors weren't just skilled. They were the embodiment of fear, striking terror across continents and centuries. The Mongols swept through Asia and Europe in the 1200s, while the Comanche ruled the American Great Plains 500 years later. Despite being separated by vast distances in time, their similarities in geography, culture, tactics, and cruelty are so uncanny they spark instant comparisons, often described as downright freaky. This exploration seeks to understand why these groups became the most feared warriors of their eras and what shaped their formidable power. Both transformed from oppressed societies into unstoppable forces, leveraging their mastery of the bow, the unmatched speed of the horse, and a ruthless disposition. From the sprawling grasslands, they roamed to their nomadic lifestyles, battle strategies, and chilling acts of violence. The Mongols and Comanche share a gripping story. Let's uncover what made these horse archers history's most terrifying legends. The Mongols and the Comanche became legendary horse archers because their environments molded them into unparalleled warriors. The Eurasian Steppe, where the Mongols roamed, and the Great Plains, home to the Comanche, are vast grasslands so visually alike they could be mistaken for each other. The steppe stretches roughly 8,000 kilometers from Eastern Europe to Central Asia, while the Great Plains span about 3,200 kilometers from Canada to Texas. These open landscapes were ideal for cavalry, providing endless space for mounted warriors to maneuver, strike swiftly, and disappear. These regions posed harsh challenges. With rainfall below 500 millimeters annually, trees couldn't grow, leaving both cultures with scarce building materials and little natural shelter. The weather was brutal, with summers soaring to 38 degrees Celsius and winters dropping to minus 40 degrees Celsius in the Mongol steppe. Such conditions bred resilient, resourceful people who thrived despite scarcity. Yet, these grasslands offered critical advantages. They served as natural highways, enabling riders to cover vast distances quickly and execute devastating hit-and-run tactics. They also provided abundant grazing land for horses, the cornerstone of both societies' way of life. Without these hardy animals, their nomadic culture and military dominance would have been unthinkable. If you were to choose the perfect environment for a mounted army, grasslands would be the answer. The steppe plains weren't just homes. They were the bedrock of the Mongols and Comanches' power, shaping their culture, economy, and warfare into forces that struck fear across continents. Horses weren't just animals for the Mongols and the Comanche. They were the heartbeat of their cultures, powering their rise to dominance. Each group relied on distinct breeds suited to their unforgiving lands. Mongol horses, small and hardy at 1.2 to 1.4 meters tall, were built for the harsh Eurasian steppe, enduring bitter winters and scarce grazing. The Comanche rode mustangs, descendants of Spanish horses introduced after 1600, standing 1.3 to 1, 5 meters tall, and perfectly adapted to the rugged Great Plains. These tough, resilient breeds were the foundation of both societies' way of life. Horses defined combat, mobility, and status. They carried warriors into battle, enabling lightning-fast strikes and retreats that left enemies reeling. Beyond the battlefield, horses were a symbol of wealth in these nomadic cultures, where material possessions were hard to keep. The number of horses you owned marked your status, functioning as a mobile currency in economies built on movement. A man with many horses was rich, respected, and powerful. The mobility horses provided was staggering. Both the Mongols and Comanche brought spare mounts on campaigns, swapping them out to keep riders fresh. This allowed them to cover 100 to 160 kilometers in a single day, a feat that baffled their foes. During the Mongol campaigns in Central Asia from 1220 to 1223, raids 160 kilometers apart in one day led enemies to believe multiple armies were attacking, when it was just one group moving at breakneck speed. This speed and endurance made them nearly impossible to catch or predict. Horses were the key to the Mongols and Comanche's dominance. Without them, their conquests, their culture, and their very survival in the vast, harsh grasslands would have been unimaginable. The Mongols and the Comanche lived as nomads, their cultures finely tuned to a life of constant movement across vast grasslands. This mobile lifestyle defined everything from their homes to their survival strategies. The Mongols relied on yurts, portable round tents that could be disassembled in hours, perfect for their treks across the Eurasian Steppe. The Comanche used teepees, conical tents that could be set up or taken down in about an hour, ideal for the Great Plains. Both groups moved seasonally, chasing grazing lands for their horses and hunting grounds for food, always staying one step ahead of the harsh environments they called home. Labor was sharply divided to support this way of life. Women took charge of the critical tasks of moving and assembling homes, ensuring the group could relocate swiftly and efficiently. This freed men to focus on what their societies valued most: warfare and raiding. These weren't just acts of aggression. They were essential for survival in landscapes where resources like food and materials were scarce. Raiding brought in what the land couldn't provide. The Comanche targeted neighboring tribes and Spanish or Mexican settlers starting in the 17th century, while the Mongols launched devastating campaigns against China and Persia from 1206 onward. Warriors who excelled in these raids gained immense status, their success reinforcing the centrality of combat in both cultures. Nomadic life made accumulating material wealth a challenge. Possessions were a burden when you were always on the move. But horses solved this problem, serving as mobile assets that could travel with the group. They were wealth you could ride, trade, or use in battle, perfectly suited to a life without roots. This reliance on horses, paired with a culture built around raiding and mobility, turned the Mongols and Comanche into masters of their domains, thriving where others could barely survive. The Mongols and the Comanche weren't born warriors. They were forged into them from childhood, their skills on horseback making them unstoppable. Training began early, at ages 3 or 4, with boys learning to ride and shoot. By age 10, they were masters, melding horse and rider into a single, deadly unit. Their techniques were breathtaking, firing arrows while galloping at full speed, hanging off the side of a horse to dodge attacks while still shooting, and even turning backward in the saddle to unleash a Parthian shot at pursuing enemies. American artist George Catlin, who observed the Comanche in 1834, captured their transformation. On foot, they were unattractive, slovenly, but on horseback, they metamorphosed into extraordinary warriors, reborn as masters of war. Their primary weapon was the bow, tailored to their environments and needs. The Comanche wielded a longbow crafted from Osage wood, about 1.2 meters long with a draw weight of roughly 50 pounds. It was powerful enough to fell bison and suited for the Great Plains open ranges, with an effective range of 150 to 200 meters. The Mongols, however, used a composite bow, a compact marvel of wood, horn, and sinew about 1 meter long. With a draw weight of 100 to 160 pounds, it offered superior power and a range of 300 to 500 meters, giving them a deadly edge at distance. These bows, paired with their horsemanship, made both groups lethal. Their tactics were as cunning as their skills. The feigned retreat was a signature move. They'd pretend to flee, luring enemies into a reckless chase, only to turn and unleash a hail of arrows, often leading foes into an ambush. Their high mobility made them ghosts on the battlefield. Between 1830 and 1860, U.S. and Mexican armies struggled to even locate Comanche war parties, who struck and vanished into the plains. Both cultures were clumsy on foot, but invincible on horseback, their lives and warfare built around the horse and bow. Some still try to recreate their prowess crafting a Comanche bow, and learning to shoot like them is a challenge worth pursuing. The Mongols and the Comanche didn't just fight wars, they waged terror, their brutality so extreme it stands out even among history's most warlike cultures. Their ruthlessness wasn't just strategy, it was a weapon, designed to break enemy spirits and ensure submission. For both, cruelty was woven into their way of life, a product of societies built on survival through relentless conflict. The Comanche's savagery was personal and horrifying. Their torture methods were gruesome, burning captives' limbs until nerves were destroyed, amputating extremities, scalping victims alive, tearing out tongues to silence screams, and heaping burning coals on writhing bodies. Spanish records from the 18th century describe such acts against the Tacawas, a chilling example of their methods. T.R. Fehrenbach, in 1974, noted that enduring torture was the ultimate sign of bravery in Comanche culture, a twisted badge of honor. S.C. Gwynn, in his 2010 book Empire of the Summer Moon, went further, stating that the Comanche not only inflicted horrific suffering but enjoyed it, pain being an accepted part of their adult culture. From 1830 to 1870, their raids and torture terrorized Texas and Mexico, leaving a trail of fear. The Mongols' brutality was equally shocking but often on a massive scale. They slaughtered entire cities, cutting off ears to tally the dead during the 1220 sack of Samarkand. Around 100,000 perished. Their policy was clear. Cities could surrender and pay tribute or face annihilation. Baghdad's fall from the 5th of February to 1258 saw 200,000 to 800,000 deaths, a massacre of mathematical precision. For nobles, the Mongols avoided spilling blood due to a taboo, instead using creative cruelty. At the Battle of Kalka River on May 31, 1223, Russian princes were crushed under a platform, while the Mongols feasted atop it. A quote attributed to Genghis Khan around 1220 captures their mindset. A man's greatest work is to crush enemies, seize their possessions, horses and women, and hear the weeping of their loved ones. Both cultures, once oppressed themselves, showed no mercy, their war-centric societies viewing compassion as weakness. To them, brutality was survival, a tool to secure resources and dominance in harsh, unforgiving worlds. Modern societies condemn such cruelty, but for the Mongols and Comanche, it was the grim reality of their existence, forging their legacies as history's most feared warriors. Across continents and centuries, the Mongols and Comanche carved out empires from humble beginnings, their rapid ascents fueled by horses and the vast grasslands they called home. These two cultures, though distinct in time and place, transformed into dominant powers through parallel paths. leveraging their environments and cavalry prowess to reshape their worlds. In the early 13th century, Genghis Khan united the fractured nomadic tribes of the Mongolian steppe after fierce civil wars, earning the title of Great Khan in 1206. From this foundation, he built the largest contiguous empire ever known, stretching 13 to 14 million square kilometers from Eastern Europe to Korea between 1206 and 1294. His campaigns were relentless. The Jin dynasty in China fell from 1211 to 1234, and the Khwarezmian Empire in Persia was devastated between 1219 and 1221. These conquests showcased the Mongols' strategic genius and unmatched mobility, made possible by the open steppe that allowed their horsemen to strike across vast distances with devastating speed. Half a world away, the Comanche remained an obscure tribe until the 17th century, their fortunes changing dramatically after they acquired Spanish horses introduced post-1600. These animals transformed them into a cavalry juggernaut, and by 1750, they ruled the southern plains, including Texas and New Mexico, through unmatched skill and ferocity. Their dominance endured until 1870. Driven by relentless raids that terrorized rivals and settlers. Though their population in the late 1700s was estimated between 10,000 and 30,000, modern estimates suggest it was likely under 10,000. Despite their small numbers, the Great Plains' open terrain amplified their power, making them a formidable force. Horses and grasslands were the cornerstones of both groups' meteoric rises. The steppe and plains weren't mere backdrops. They were the engines of conquest, enabling the speed, strategy, and survival that turned these nomadic warriors into enduring legends. What would happen if the Mongols and Comanche, two of history's greatest horse archer cultures, faced off in battle? Despite their striking similarities, a clash between these nomadic warriors would likely be one-sided, with the Mongols holding clear advantages. Let's explore this hypothetical matchup in two scenarios: a clash of their largest armies and a battle with equal forces. Scenario 1. Largest armies clash. At the time of Genghis Khan's death in 1227, the Mongols commanded around 130,000 soldiers, a massive, disciplined force, organized into units of 10 with merit-based promotions. In contrast, the Comanche in the 19th century had a total population of under 10,000, including non-warriors, with far fewer fighters available. The sheer scale of the Mongol army would overwhelm the Comanche, whose smaller numbers couldn't match the Mongols' coordinated might. The Mongols' rigid structure and vast resources would ensure domination, leaving little room for the Comanche to compete. Scenario 2. Equal forces. Even with equal numbers, the Mongols would likely prevail due to superior technology and organization. Their composite bows, with draw weights of 100 to 160 pounds and a range of 300 to 500 meters, outclassed the Comanche's Osage longbows, which had a 50-pound draw and 150 to 200-meter range. Mongol lamellar and leather armor offered better protection than the Comanche's buffalo hide shields. Additionally, the Mongols' military structure, refined through adopting siege tactics from China and Persia, was far more advanced than the Comanche's less formal raiding parties. The Comanche's loud battles, style marked by war whoops and painted faces for intimidation, sacrifice, stealth, making them easier targets for the Mongols' disciplined tactics. A 2009 episode of Deadliest Warrior claimed the Comanche would win due to archery skill, but this overlooked the Mongols' stronger bows, better armor, and superior organization, rendering the conclusion flawed. In both scenarios, the Mongols' advantages in numbers, technology, and structure would likely secure an easy victory. Yet, the matchup sparks curiosity. Who in the ancient world could challenge such horse archers? Could Alexander the Great's Macedonians or a Roman legion stand a chance? These questions invite debate, pondering how other legendary forces might fare against the relentless speed and ferocity of nomadic cavalry. Once invincible, the Mongols and Comanche eventually faced challenges that unraveled their dominance, yet their legacies as legendary horse archers continue to captivate. Internal weaknesses and external forces brought their eras to an end, but their influence on warfare and history remains unforgettable. Shared struggles marked the decline of both cultures. Alcohol eroded their vitality, weakening the Comanche in the 19th century and the Mongols after the Yuan dynasty's collapse in the 14th century. More decisively, the advent of modern firearms rifles and cannons in the 19th century nullified the strengths of horse archers. These weapons outperformed bows in range and power, rendering traditional cavalry tactics ineffective. The Comanches' power waned after the Medicine Lodge Treaty on the 21st of October 1867, which restricted them to reservations, halting their nomadic raids. Similarly, the Mongol Empire fragmented after 1368, its vast dominion breaking into smaller, less formidable states. Their fall did not erase their impact. Two neighboring peoples, both were terrors, their very names evoking dread. Comanche raids were so disruptive they delayed Texas's annexation to the United States until 1845, shaping the region's trajectory. From 1206 to 1368, the Mongols expanded the Silk Road, connecting continents and boosting trade and cultural exchange. Their revolutionary cavalry tactics influenced military strategies for centuries, just as the Comanche's swift, elusive raids redefined warfare on the Great Plains. Though modernization eclipsed these nomadic warriors, their stories endure. The Mongols and Comanche didn't merely wage war, they transformed the worlds they touched, leaving behind a legacy of awe, fear, and enduring fascination. The Mongols and Comanche stand as towering figures in history, their legacies as horse archers, defined by shared geography, culture, and tactics. Both harnessed the vast grasslands, nomadic lifestyles, and deadly cavalry skills to become nightmares to their enemies. Yet, the Mongols surpassed the Comanche in scale and organization, their empire's vast reach and disciplined structure setting them apart as one of history's greatest conquering forces. While the Comanche dominated the southern plains with ferocity, the Mongols reshaped entire continents, leaving an unmatched mark on the world. Their stories are enriched by pivotal cultural moments. For the Comanche, the abduction of Cynthia Ann Parker on May 19, 1836, at Fort Parker, Texas, looms largish became the mother of Quanah Parker, their most famous chief. For the Mongols, Genghis Khan's rescue of his wife Berthe in the 1180s sparked succession disputes that rippled through their history, clouding the lineage of his heirs. These personal dramas underscore the human stakes behind their larger-than-life conquests. This comparison raises intriguing questions for debate. Could Alexander the Great's Macedonian army, dominant from 334 to 323 BCE, have withstood Genghis Khan's relentless horsemen? How would 100 Roman legionaries from the 1st century CE fare against the Comanche's swift, elusive raids on the open plains? These matchups invite speculation about how history's greatest warriors might stack up. Share your thoughts on these questions, or suggest ideas for future explorations of history and warfare. What other cultures, battles, or tactics deserve a closer look? Your insights can spark the next deep dive into the past.